Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's September 12th, 2024, and it has been a bizarre last couple of days, hasn't it? Today, we're going to get into season 3 of the TV series CONTINUUM. Now, every episode seems to carry themes of their future plans, literally packed with predictive programming. And so we'll get into that today, as well as some depictions of basically them casting free-thinking people as terrorists. This is what they want the mainstream people to believe, that anyone that thinks outside of the mainstream paradigm, and whatever thoughts you have, whatever theories that you have about what's going on that's outside of their truth, they want you to be cast as a terrorist. And that's really what the predictive programming is. If I had one takeaway for this series, that would have to be the main takeaway from this series. Don't get this mistaken. A lot of people want to think that TV shows like this, oh, look at all this disclosure that's happening, and they're actually helping us, and this and that. They're helping free thinking people. No, they're depicting us as terrorists. Okay. And they're depicting all this as fruitless. And absolutely, it is absolutely not fruitless. Huge example that we were just given about how important this work is was going through the pandemic, wasn't it? People had to make very, very tough choices about their health and their children and themselves. People are still dropping out, perfectly healthy people with blood clots in their heart. I just heard a story on one of the channel that I followed is Hunting and Fishing. He's telling a story about these folks that he ran into out in the Bahamas, and he had a friend on a boat, had a massive heart attack. Fortunately, they had defibrillator on board. They were able to revive this person. He's a perfectly healthy individual, heart attack. And all I could think in my mind was, I wonder if. So the only way people could have avoided a lot of what happened was to listen to decodes like this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be convinced, would you? You'd be like, I trust those people. I trust them. I trust what they're trying to do. Instead, we see the programming. This was prep for future events and shaping and molding humanity into ways that are unnatural, into ways that will make you perish. Now, let's dive right in to this, because in this very first episode here, we get a direct mention of how Monsanto has monopolized independent farming. Now, I'm going to put these clips in slow motion, not slow motion, but I'm going to slow down the clip a bit, just because they talk so fast that you can't really hear what they're saying. So here we're going to go. We're 0.75 speed. It's going to sound a little bit weird, but you'll be able to hear what they're saying much more clearly. Watch this.
The crops produce no seeds. We had to buy fresh seeds every year, and they'd only grow with their pesticide. When I was young, family farming wasn't a crime. And then they mandated genetically enhanced seeds. Family farming wasn't a crime. And then they mandated genetically enhanced seeds. They're fertilizer.
That's when you went gray.
We're one of the first cleaner communities.
Now, it's crazy because even myself, I hear and see things that I wouldn't have heard or seen when you slow down the clip. So not only are they talking about genetically modified seeds and the monopoly over small farming, what else did that woman just say? She said gleaning. Now, let's go into the chat here, because you guys most of you are well adept at reading your Bibles, which is why I always recommend that you spend just as much time in the Bible as you do on this channel, if not more. You should be reading your Bibles, because everything we talk about is about the Bible, okay? So what did she just say that triggered a biblical memory about gleaning. Let's see who gets the answer. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I couldn't even believe this. Now, in the series, they call it San Monto, so they just scramble the words a little bit. Gleaning the field. Yes, seeker of truth. What is that a direct reference to that's in the Bible? Yes, leave the edges of the crop for the poor people. Yes, this was in the Bible. Oh, I didn't know it was in the book of Ruth as well. That's really interesting. So there you go. There's two references. The main reference was Jesus Christ, and he would glean the fields. Okay, and he did it on the Sabbath, and this is why the Pharisees criticized him. But yet this was what he was allowed to do, right? And he justified his gleaning of the field. So these are some great Bible studies to go back after the show or whenever and do a study on gleaning the fields and read about Ruth and read about Jesus and see if the two are connected, because they probably are. Jesus probably did that as a direct reference back to Ruth on some level. It's also the harvest, isn't it? Jesus often compared us to the wheat amongst the tares, didn't he? So he was out harvesting men to the kingdom. So this whole Monsanto thing is cryptic because it goes into direct opposition of what Jesus did. Jesus was the fisher of men and separating the wheat from the tares, gleaning the fields, and Monsanto has essentially replaced natural wheat, natural, with the unnatural. And that's what this has always been about. They are trying to replace your flesh with unnatural flesh. Okay? Now, one guy starts to wake up. So, okay, let me give you the backdrop. This might be a little bit confusing. Kira, this is the main character. She crash lands with her prisoner. And they crash land in this gleaning community, as you just heard that woman is talking about. And Kira's trying to get out. But Kira is torn. She's torn between what her job is, which is to go after these quote unquote terrorists or people that live outside of the corporate structure. And this is her job. But then these people are like dropping knowledge on her. They're like, this is the world we live in now, where there's a monopoly on even something as simple and basic, a basic human right to grow your own food. Basic human right. But the structure, the control structure, hates this. They hate this because if you have the right to grow your own food and subsist on your own, then you don't have to listen to their rules. Now, most people that subsist on their own, they don't intend to hurt other people. They don't intend to steal because they're self-sufficient. But that's not enough for the control mechanism. They want to force you to do things. So therefore, they've gone after the water rights. They're going after free farming. You guys, this is a very important show because this will help some people wake up. When you see that they were already programming and talking about this stuff 10 years ago in this TV episode. They just shuffled the names around a bit, but it's all the same thing. Monsanto, the seeds. Now, to hear this in an actual TV series, which was supposed to be a conspiracy theory, right? Oh, Monsanto's not trying to take over all the natural seeds. They're just coming up with a better way to farm. It's more efficient. And GMO is just the same as natural seeds. What's the big deal? Well, they don't know that. They admit to us all the time that they didn't know that PCBs was going to cause this, or this was going to cause that, or Roundup was going to cause this or that. They claim they didn't know. So how do they know for a fact that unnatural GMO seeds are not dangerous to our health? How do they know that? Unless you were to, test it on a monkey for 20 years. But they have not done this. They bring these things to market, and then when the problems start kicking up, first they try to cover it up. They'll do that for like 5 or 10 years, and then they finally admit it, but by then everyone's dead. So now let's keep watching this. Enough of that rant. Now, one guy starts to wake up, and he realizes that our economy can't be just about efficiency and numbers. It has to be about humanity. I think there's a little bit more of this clip first on Monsanto, and then we'll get into this other guy who wakes up.
said we hadn't registered. My dad stood his ground and shot him dead. This inspector came by our farm.
Something to tell our son to help him understand.
Now, you heard that boy talk about how his dad got murdered on the farm because he didn't register, right? I use that voice because it's a voice of sarcasm. And it also helps you focus on the ridiculousness of some of the things that we allow these controllers to do to us. Like make you register something with the government. Why should you have to register something? It's so they can keep tabs on you, if we haven't figured that out by now. This is why the Second Amendment, people are really upset that you even have to register a gun. Why should you have to register a gun? And with a swipe of a pen, they tell you, oh, if you don't register by this date, you are now a criminal. So they essentially go through and just arbitrarily make criminals out of people based on whatever new law they come up with. This is not fair. And they all do it under the guise of safety. It's your safety, right? We want to keep you safe. We don't want a bunch of guns on the streets. And then the controllers are the ones doing most of the, well, I won't say most of the violence, but a lot of the violence, or the here and there strategic points of violence to make you feel unsafe so that you think everyone should have to register their guns. You see the problem here? They have the incentive to do whatever they want to control us. What is it called? Conflict of interest. We should not be allowing the very people to make the laws about our rights. The rights are the rights. They shouldn't be messed with in any way, shape, or form. You shouldn't have to register your farm, right? You shouldn't have to register your whole life. That's ridiculous. Would you make your children register with you, all their stuff, so you can keep an eye on them? No. So why does our government do that to us? Now, this guy starts to wake up and he realizes again that life can't just be all about efficiency and numbers, because there's no human aspect to that. And this is where we get into our economic system. You know, we can brag all day long about how great America is, and we have a capitalist society, and it allows people to be rich. Well, yeah, it does. But look what you have to go through to get to it. Literally, everyone has to sell out. They have to be greedy. They have to go against their brother. They have to, this is destroying marriages, you know? You're sitting around, let's say you're married, and, you know, everyone goes through stuff in their marriages. And then all of a sudden, your marriage is worth a couple $1 million, $3 million. What's stopping that person from going, this capitalist society? And I'm not advocating for any kind of Marxist government or anything like that. I'm not advocating for that. What I'm saying is something's wrong with our system. It's directly opposite to what Jesus taught. Okay? It's directly opposite to it. To be greedy, to go against your brother, to stab people in the back. Right? A bunch of jealous people running around waiting for you to slip up so they can rat you out. You guys, even out here in rural Arkansas, my friends were telling me about neighbors they had that ratted them out. And I won't talk about how they did it or for what, but you got to be careful what you tell people now, because our capitalist society has everyone at each other's throat. That's not natural. And why is this happening? Because it's all bound up into a monetary system. The monetary system collects someone's labor and puts it on a note, puts it on a bill, a dollar bill, in the form of money. And as soon as someone starts stacking up a bunch of that money, they all of a sudden have this arbitrary power. Well, here's the problem. The people that make the money know how to make it and collect it for themselves through the system they set up. Either they print it off or they know how to invest it. It's a big secret. We can't collect enough money to even invest, even if we wanted to. And 9 times out of 10, our investments are going to fall out and yield nothing because we don't know how the system works, because they don't teach us how the system works, right? So they just arbitrarily go through and they manipulate us and they go, oh. So, okay, let me go back in the chat because I need to see you guys while I'm talking about all this. So what do they tell poor and middle class people? Oh, invest in your 401k. And then what happens is you're now induced to vote for someone who made your 401k a little bit better. Oh, I made $5,000 on my 401k because Trump was in power. That's called a manipulation, right? That's called a manipulation. What's it all for when what America represents is war and supporting countries that we shouldn't be supporting and giving away all your money? What's it all for that you made $5,000 in your 401k when all that got taken back with something that Trump made that nobody wanted, or at least we didn't want? We didn't sign up for him to make that. And I have to say that because I can't say what it is, but you all know. And he gave a bunch of it, trillions away to the pharmaceutical company. So did you really make $5,000 in your 401k? No, you probably broke even, and you actually probably lost money because now we're in inflation. Look, all you got to do is sit down and write all this out, and it will make perfect sense to you. But if you're caught up in emotion and the right-left paradigm, you won't see the tree from the forest. You'll just keep making the same mistake again. Yes, your 401k did well, but then we spent all of it back on vaccines and pharmaceutical companies and stimulus checks and inflation. Blown out of the water. So it's all just a shell game, isn't it? It's just moving stuff around. So, sorry about that economy rant, but it's true. Capitalism in the form that it is now it's self-destructive. It's self-destructive. And now, not to say there can't be a capitalist society. Yes, absolutely there can, but it has to be different than the one it is now because it's rigged. It's a rigged system, and you all know it. I hear stories all the time from you guys. Some of you work so hard your whole life. Back's broken, hands don't work anymore, arthritis, carpal tunnel. What do you have to show for it? Somebody else got rich off of your labor, right? Others of you have shared stories of people that you know that have gone through this. You know, very few of you know someone who's wealthy, who's happy, who's broke through the glass ceiling, right? Very few of you know anybody like that. And if you do, usually they got handed off something from that they inherited. It all started that they had $1 million in the bank already. Not to say they're not working hard either, but are they happy? Constantly looking after their money, constantly, oh, I got to watch my money. And then they get paranoid because they think someone else is going to take their money. And they don't know who to trust. I mean, we all have seen and talked to these people. They live in a different reality. So is any of this working? No, it's not. Is any of this anything close to what Jesus, his experience was with the disciples, where they weren't looking to take anything from each other or other people? It was about giving. It was about living with less. Right? It was about winning souls to the kingdom. And that's what it should be about. People shouldn't be obsessed with money. But yet, this is the system that we have set up because it's so hard to come by money. And the people at the top make the money and control all of us with it. Now, let's get into this. A little bit of rant there. Sorry.
I suppose I'm looking for meaning in it all.
Sad Tech and the other members of the corporate Congress. The meaning is all around you. Their sole purpose to enrich the lives of all the citizens, to never again slip into the chaos of the past, to preserve the promise of a civil society. You tell your son his mother's life, her sacrifice to the corporation, has enabled all of us left behind to prosper.
So this is Alex Sadler giving a hypocritical speech about the greater good, right? And setting aside your personal, compassion that you might want to have for your fellow man. It's all about efficiency. And the whole time that he's giving the speech, he called in airstrikes on the gleaning farmers to annihilate them. Why? Because they decided to resist their draconian laws. And this is what happens, because as soon as the controllers see any sign of resistance, in their mind, they have to smash it out of existence because they don't want that to become contagious and catch fire so that other people wake up. So they smash it. And this is what Alex Sadler does, future Alex Sadler, as he's lecturing this guy about falling in line.
Follow your instincts to take a moral stand.
Not a revolutionary, Edward.
No.
It becomes harder.
So it's the draconian laws and evil methods that actually fuel the resistance. Okay, if you hadn't seen an example of how the controllers work, look at how much blood, money, and taxes they spent and the amount of time over in the Middle East to crush any resistance. That shows their dedication. And the day that they flipped the script and started talking more about domestic terrorists, that should tell you everything you need to know. We are the new target. I'm not a terrorist, but this is what they want people to believe. Okay? My methods are information and Jesus Christ and the gospel. Okay? Because I listen to Jesus, would never advocate for violence ever, because that goes directly against what Jesus taught. But they'll have you believe that, oh, if you listen to this guy, eventually you're going to get so angry, you're going to want to do something. Some of you have wondered why I've kind of separated myself from certain channels or people that I used to be with, because I see a violence aspect to it, or an anger aspect that I don't want to be associated with or be part of, because they will use that against us in the future if we get that angry and start talking about what we're going to do, right? That's falling right into their trap. Okay? We are a peaceful channel. Now, next, the future police. They break up what they call an illegal gathering. Basically, a group of people gathering together to share free thought. Police don't like that. You got to break this up. And here we are the day after 9/11. And God's timing, right? It's always God's timing on this channel. They show two buildings and they talk about a controlled demolition. You're not even going to believe this.
It becomes harder to sell to those who already have a stake in the new building.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the violation under Section 2 of GCC Civil, this is an illegal political gathering.
A citizens committee meeting. We're trying to save this heritage building from demolition.
I appreciate the sentimentality.
Trying to save the building from demolition, and they show two towers right on the heels of 9/11. Programming from 10 years ago. Now, check in with you guys for a minute. We'll get into some of the rest of these clips. Can you even believe this? I couldn't. Now, next, a young Alex Sadler from the past, he develops a wristband. Wristband, because he says he wants to help people, right? And I think he truly does in the series. He's trying to turn the page, do something positive with all this money that he's inherited from his father. So he develops a wristband that detects disease, and he calls the wristband a a halo. Essentially, they're both the same thing. A halo is a corona or a crown. Watch this.
We'll find new clusters, make connections, and stop plagues from even happening.
Impossible. The research and development alone would take years.
Halo is more than just a medical clinic on your wrist. It's the CDC.
Internal documents reveal that Monsanto sold GMO foods without any government testing and in clear violation of agricultural import laws.
Exxon, Blackwater, De Beers. That's what they did.
There you heard more Monsanto, Blackwater. Wow. Now, next, they asked the question, can a company be considered a mass murderer? They're literally telling you.
Check it out. Look. We found the trail that led from a hired mercenary to Monsanto. Monsanto has been trying to buy Firmitas. They changed the narrative.
We're saying a company is a mass murderer. We need more than a trail. Can't arrest a company. We need a name, somebody that initiated all this.
Now, you're not going to believe this next part. Young Alec Sadler mentions graphene as one of the components of his Halo invention, the wristband.
Well, maybe our graphene conductivity can be improved.
No. We tried that. It just melted all over the table. It was bad.
Melted all over the table, the black graphene goo. Now, in a completely separate scene, this guy, who's actually Alex's son from the future, keeps breaking a graphene pencil.
You are aware that...
Now, in this next scene, this thing is loaded, isn't it? Season 3 was probably the most loaded of all of them. I couldn't even believe season 3. Now, in the next scene, there's an underground clinic. And what is it doing? It's helping people disavow their citizenship. It's helping people remove their chip and their mark on the right hand and in their pineal gland, which they access through the roof of the mouth. Does this all sound familiar? Watch this.
You are aware that citizenship extraction renders your birth certification and citizenship null and void? Extend your arm through the indicators and bite down on the sanitized bit.
Now, it's a setup. Kira is actually undercover to break up the clinic because all these people in the room are trying to disavow their citizenship. They're trying to remove their mark, the mark of the beast, which I've been telling you guys will have to deal with your identity. The biometrics, everything Trump's been talking about. Oh, we'll just biometrically scan the immigrants. Well, guess what? It starts with the illegals and then it spreads to everybody else. They're already biometrically scanning people at the airports. It's already happening. This will be your identity and you won't be able to buy and sell without it. Now, will the vaccines be part of that? Absolutely. All of that will be rolled in together. Your healthcare, your ability to travel based on what you've been poked with will all be lumped in together. And you won't be able to buy or sell unless you are a quote unquote legitimate citizen with all your papers in order and all your current and upgraded vaccinations.
CPS, don't move! And chips were a good idea once. Now they're being abused by the corporate Congress and people.
This kind of back alley business.
What's legal and what's right are not always the same thing. People are wise to the scam that they unwittingly became a part of in the name of convenience.
I just never imagined someone would want to give up the benefits of citizenship. Identity.
Back to work. We'll get us a couple sodas.
Order followers. And now you know why they won't solve the border crisis. Because they need the border crisis so that they can force all of us into biometrics and identity. They will say it is a necessary part to clean house. We have to identify everybody. If we don't, they'll come back in. Because Trump could have ended the border crossing for good with an executive order to remove all benefits. Now, I got challenged on this in the comments yesterday. Our idea that we came up with to give the illegals 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, you get no benefits, and it becomes a capital offense to hire, harbor, or help an illegal person. Okay, so they have 2 years. So there's no questions at the end of the 2 years. You have time to go back to your home country. A long time. Heck, we could even make a program to help them deport. You need some gas money to get to the border? Fine. Because after 2 years, it all gets cut off. And someone challenged me. They said, you really think people would leave? Yeah, they will leave. Because there's nothing left here for them. Do you think any company is going to risk getting a $5,000 fine, $10,000 fine, continuing to hire these people? You cut off all of the field programs. Okay. And you know what? It'll be tough for a while. A little bit tough. We might not have all the variety on the store shelves. But guess what? Maybe the farmers have to pay a fair wage to people that work in the fields. You guys, I would love to pick up a couple extra hours going out to a field, make $150 a day or $200 a day. I would love to go do that. Wouldn't you? Hey, if you need the money, it's simple work. Well, it's not simple. It's probably labor intensive, but think about it. What do we do as Americans? We go into the gym. Oh, let's go get in a sweat in the gym. Let's work out for 2 hours in the gym. Why would we go to a gym when there's fields that could be picked and you're going to get the same workout? Burn calories and make a couple $100 on top of it. Instead of paying a gym membership, you're getting paid for it. What happened to our country? What happened to our country, you guys? Where we go to gyms to get a workout when there's work there, but then we want to pay an illegal person to do this work. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Now you start to learn some of these things when you work a homestead. I was like, man, this is great. Get up every day. There's things I have to do. Otherwise things start growing in. And so these weeds, gosh, I got these weeds in my driveway, right? The battle of the weeds. I've tried everything. These weeds just want to grow into this gravel. So what have I done now? I got a giant tarp and I've got it and I'm put it over the weeds. I'm going to put it section by section. And that's how I'm going to kill the weeds. So there's all these things that you do and it fills up your day. But yet now we live in a backwards world. Okay. And then we make excuses. We're like, oh, we have to have illegals because they got to work these jobs. No, we don't. Look, I live in an area, there are some wealthy people and there's a lot of poor people. They would love to have a job where they could pick up a couple $100 a day, picking fruit or something. They would love that job. Instead, they have idle hands because there's no work. Or because they got to go to McDonald's and work $15 an hour and they only get 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week because nobody wants to pay benefits. You guys, our country used to look like this 50 years ago. I remember as a child, I even used to go in the fields and pick fruit and almonds and string beans in the Central Valley. It was like a thing. My mom would take me and the whole family would go. And we'd sit out there all morning and pick all these, I don't even know what this program was, but this is what I did when I was a child. And I'm only 51 years old. It was out by Tracy, California. They had all these fields and there were groups of people and we literally helped pick the vegetables and the fruits and the trees. But now we've got illegals doing it. And we think we need that so we can get cheap produce. Well, I got news for you. We might have to pay a little bit extra for produce, but guess what? All the money we're going to save on all the illegals coming over here is going to be far outweigh that. Okay. Things are going to, there's going to be a fair wage paid to plumbers and people that do the work that was being replaced by illegals. All right. So let's keep going here. Backwards world. Oh boy. Now, so our controllers are intentionally refusing to solve the immigration problem so they can use it to justify biometrics. Because as I said, a swipe of the pen, executive order under national security, all benefits to illegals should end, give them a 2-year time frame. And then after 2 years, they can't put gas in their car. They can't make side cash because people that hire them will get heavily fined. You're going to, all the people that are hiring people to do their yard work are going to stop paying those illegals because they're like, I don't want to get a $5,000 fine for that. And then they all just magically go home. Now there'll be a holdout criminal element, I'm sure, but eventually they'll get tracked down because they'll get pulled over. You guys, even in my rural community, you get pulled over. You know, I didn't have tags on my truck, not because I'm not a responsible person, but I was leaving Cheryl and Jay's house. I didn't have tags on my truck because it didn't transfer over. I didn't get a reminder in the mail because I had moved. Got pulled over. Hey, if I was an illegal, boom, you're gone, right? So it's attrition. At a certain point, it's a lot easier to deport people through attrition after you've already de-incentivized them from being here, correct? I mean, this is just simple thought processes, simple critical thinking. You remove the incentives, let them deport themselves after 2 years, then it's attrition. Now you're just going after pockets of people that are left behind. We don't need the National Guard. We don't need people going door to door doing home inspections to find illegals. We don't need all that yet. Okay. Now, will there be a fight in the Supreme Court about the legality? Yeah, but guess who's going to win that? National security. And it'll be very easy, according to their news headlines, to justify national security because we have foreign nationals coming over to the border. So guess what? And if the Supreme Court voted against removing all benefits and forcing the states to remove all benefits, then we're the people. They should listen to us, right? And I can't imagine anybody going against such a decision. Even a liberal would say, you know what? You're right. National security, our safety of our borders. Now, 20 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be able to make that case because there weren't really foreign nationals coming over the border. There weren't Chinese and Russians coming over the border 20 years ago. But now they've shown that there are, and no one can deny it. So let's make an executive order under national security. Now's the time to shut off all benefits. That's the first step. Now, okay, let me get back into this here. Boy. Now, Alec, at this point, is trying to work on his Halo bracelet, but he's missing some pieces that have not been invented for decades. So what does he do? He digs the microchip out of dead Kira's neck, because there's a dead Kira and there's a live Kira. There's two doubles of her. One was traveling in time. At this point, Alec realizes that he needs to clone the chip, not try to manufacture them. So he clones all these chips. Watch. This is the chip that drives Halo. It's a hexagon. And Alec figures out the secret to the interface between the inorganic liquid chip and an organic human. The secret is cloning. This is what completes the interface. Here's some more on what the actual Halo looks like It almost itself looks like an Ouroboros, doesn't it? Or maybe a Mobius strip. But here's a little promotional video that was in the TV series for Halo. They're also going to mention Neuralink by name. They're going to mention Neuralink by name. This was 10 years ago, you guys.
Now within reach.
This is what peace of mind looks like.
Meet Halo, your health and lifestyle oracle. Real-time medical monitoring and disease prevention.
Oracle, Ouroboros. It's pretty clear what they're getting at here.
I needed that chip to make the Neuralink work effectively with Halo. It was a missing piece of the puzzle. Should I let it get vaporized?
Now within reach.
This is what peace of mind looks like.
Meet Halo, your health and lifestyle oracle. Real-time medical monitoring and disease prevention.
I needed that chip to make the Neuralink work effectively with Halo. It was a missing piece of the puzzle. Should I let it get vaporized?
Don't try to rationalize what you did.
There's no other technology like it. Looks like it comes out of a Terminator. And this is the heart of Halo, a bioorganic microcircuit that interfaces directly between brain and machine.
Obviously, they're talking about Neuralink before Neuralink was ever really a thing. Wow. So, what are these people, fortune tellers? No, they are disclosing the future that they already have pre-planned for us. They put it in fiction so that no one ever wakes up to the truth and reality of it, because they just write it off as, oh, you saw that in a TV series. That's not real. And it's effective, because this is the pushback we get from people. Even no matter how many times we show them foreknowledge of things that had not happened yet, this is what they keep telling us. You're just watching too much TV. You have a wild imagination. Stop smoking. You need medication. I think the people that need medication are the ones that are in complete denial at this point, after all the years of showing them the predictive programming over and over and over again. Now, tomorrow, we're going to finish up season 3. You're not even going to believe what I'm going to show you tomorrow. A direct reference to Ozempic, the Ozempic injection. This is from 10 years ago. 3 years before Ozempic was ever even released to the market. They show a woman injecting herself while they're talking about a weight loss drug. I couldn't even believe it. Could not believe. So I'll show you that tomorrow, and we'll get into some other headlines tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a fun show, as all Friday shows are, because Kamala and Trump are the same person. Kamala and Trump are the same person. So you'll notice the headline, I morphed the two images of their faces together so we could have a little bit of a laugh and get into what this is all about. They were at the 9/11 memorial ceremony, chumming it up as we would expect that they would, like two attorneys after a divorce settlement going out to lunch together, because we're the suckers who keep voting for these people. And they're all friends behind the scenes. So you can say what you want. You can say, oh, it's because he's the bigger person. He's trying to be polite. No. Okay. Not true. So let me go into the chat here for a minute. Now I got a hurricane bearing down here on Arkansas. No, it's not that serious. Going to get some rain probably this afternoon from the hurricane that went through Louisiana. Not much, though, comparatively speaking. So, but we need the rain here. It's been pretty dry. And so that'll be cool. All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Rebecca says, good video today. Appreciate that. And thanks for the interaction. You guys are so smart. I love getting your feedback. Love how you guys are involved and, you know, and are paying attention and listening. So yeah, after you pop off here today, you know, maybe go into the Bible. There's online Bibles if you don't have a physical Bible, and read about gleaning the fields. Just go in and do a search and it'll be fun. Maybe you'll find something I didn't find yet. Gleaning the fields. and read about Jesus and Ruth and any other instances where this was a thing. So, all right. Thank you, Psyop Soup. Appreciate it. Bonnie, Solemn, Peace, Vet for Peace, Roy, Ain't Buying It, Daryl, Lorraine Ray, Cheryl, of course. All right. Need to take in the hammock and cover the umbrellas. Yeah, I'm not sure how much wind we're gonna get, but that's probably a good idea. We're gonna get probably some pretty good rain. So yes. Yeah. There's a movie called 57 Seconds about time travel. Oh, wow. Thanks, Yabba Dabba. I'll have to check that out. Because there's that number 57 again. 19 times 3. 19 tridents times 3 prongs. 57. Time travel. 57. I'm going to look that up. All right, you guys. I'm going to pop off here. Got a lot of work to do. Get tomorrow's show ready for you. I love each and every one of you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Much love.